Hey there, Indiana. Welcome to the Who's Left Podcast, the unapologetically leftist show for the Hoosier State that covers Indiana politics, history, and culture. My name is Scott Aaron Rogers. I'm broadcasting from Bloomington, and this is the first one of many shows that I hope to do live like this going forward. You know, I resolved in the new year to spend less time editing my podcast and more time just getting valuable information out there. As such, I've got a series of interviews just like this one tonight scheduled in the coming weeks. I've got Statehouse candidate Nate Stout next week. I've got another Statehouse candidate, Sharon White, several weeks from now. We've got a congressional candidate, Drew Cox, lined up. I've got a few town halls, virtual town halls lined up with congressional candidates Brad Meyer and Jackson Franklin. My Labor Radio's Mark Gavart is going to be here in the coming weeks. The incredibly talented Indiana's own Dana Black is going to be here a few weeks from now as well. So lots of big things here on the horizon at Who's Left and on the Progressive Indiana Network. But first, tonight, my guest is Jared Stancombe. And Jared ran for Statehouse down in the Lawrence County area in 2018, and for the last 5 years, he has been working in D.C. in cybersecurity across the Big Four, working with Fortune 500 clients, the federal government, and nonprofit organizations, working on to focus on solutions to complex social and technological problems, from countering terrorism, addressing the education achievement gap, global health equity, and addressing cybercrime and geopolitical competition in cyberspace. We are going to try and thread a needle here tonight, talking about the global rules-based world order. It's a shaky condition, and we're going to tie that to the shaky condition of politics here in Indiana as well. Jared will be joining us here momentarily. Real quick before we get to the interview, I do have to, give the big ask. This is an independent media project. We don't paywall any of our content here. We don't sell out to advertisers. We don't have any billionaire benefactors. Only individuals like you keep this thing going. It is a foundational principle of Who's Left and the Progressive Indiana Network that we refuse to hide valuable information behind paywalls in the middle of a political crisis, even if that's not to our financial best interest. So, to that end, please, if you find value in this work, go to progressiveindiana.net, subscribe at the paid level. Again, all of our stuff is free, but a paid subscription is only $5 a month or $50 a year. It helps us build the infrastructure that will pop the right-wing media bubble in this state. And listen, if a paid subscription is not in the cards for you right now, that's okay. I get it. You can still help out by liking and sharing on social media. Comments are huge. Got to have that engagement. Leaving reviews are super important. Providing feedback to us. How can we improve? And please forward the articles to your friends. Get us next time on the paid subscription. It'll all work out. Mostly, we just want you here in this community of Hoosiers dedicated to making this state and its government work for all of us, not just the elite few. Please join us. Now, our handles are on the screen there. You can follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads at whosleft.us. It's on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Who's Left. Progressive Indiana Network, their handle, full name spelled out, Progressive Indiana Network, but on Blue Sky and TikTok, where you don't get that many characters, it is PIN Indiana. Please help us grow with a follow wherever you're at. Tell the others. Let's build a radically democratic Indiana together. Now, join me in giving a warm welcome to our guest tonight, Jared Stancombe. Jared, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
So, Jared, I understand that your sort of specialty in the cybersecurity, national security and defense space is the Asia Pacific. Is that right?
I would say my specialization. Yeah, I've worked in the technical realm of cybersecurity. For example, when I worked for a major bank, I had a major bank as a client. It was during the Russian invasion of Ukraine, like right when it happened, and I would have chief information security officers asking me, do you think that Russia is going to conduct cyber attacks against the United States? in retaliation for sanctions. And I was kind of caught off guard by that, and I just began to see the more geopolitical elements impacting cybersecurity, and I chose to get a additional degree in national security policy, and there I studied the Indo-Pacific, so a great power competition, and it seems since I graduated that things have really changed since I graduated in July. So I try my best.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you mentioned the war in Ukraine that
Hmm.
Russia started, and boy, that we know the big full invasion in 2022, but going back to 2014,
Hmm.
little green men, right,
Yeah.
filtering over the border and taking Crimea, annexing it, and I tell people I think that we've kind of been in a war with Russia since 2014. You mentioned cyber attacks. Well,
Yeah.
if you look at what they're doing with the Internet Research Agency,
Hmm.
Russian bots,
Oh yeah.
people, just stacks and stacks of cell phone operating a bunch of sock puppet accounts, impersonating Americans
Hmm.
to give to make people believe that there is more of an appetite for this far right nationalism than there probably really is. I mean, isn't that in a way a form of a cyber attack?
Well, this is really actually nothing really new when it comes to the Russians. Thomas Rid is at Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, and he wrote a book called Active Measures, uh, detailing the history of Russian disinformation operations since around the beginning of World War I to present. So the Internet Research Agency, though, really allows um, Russian disinformation to get into the homes of Americans rather than these disinformation operations aimed at um, like making politicians look bad, like forgeries and things like that of NATO plans. They
Hmm.
have persistent engagement, with ordinary Americans. And what really concerns me most, though, is the reflexive control. And in his book, he defines that as basically Russia having the ability to shape narratives in foreign countries by sharing a little bit of information, disinformation, and having, say, like right wingers in the United States or Europe take that further and further, and being able to parse that and granularize it and shape it so it's more palatable to individuals and local communities. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like they take existing cleavages in our
yeah,
society,
hmm,
existing fracture when they just push on them and push on them and push on them.
yeah,
And then we take care of the rest ourselves, right?
yeah. Who's the beanie guy who was found to be paid by the by the Russians?
That is
So
Tim Pool, I believe you're
yeah, Tim
referencing.
Pool.
Yes.
So that, in my opinion, that's a form of reflexive control. Um, he was he had this narrative that um, it was very anti-Ukraine stance, and Russia paid him to say that for quite a while. So that reflexive control that's prevalent within the right wing allows foreign disinformation that helps, is to the advantage of Russia, you know, uh, seep into American society. It's pretty messed up.
I can hear our critics right now, our opponents. They're not in the comments section currently. It's nice, but I can hear them saying, "Here they are, Russia, 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 the Russia hoax, Russian
Hmm.
collusion." And I don't think anybody's saying that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are sitting in a smoke-filled room, twirling their imaginary mustaches, thinking of ways to damage America and damage the
Mhm.
NATO alliance. But they kind of have similar worldviews, right? And
Oh
there's
yeah.
a synergy between them, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, rule of law is what they say it is. So, I mean, Trump, I think, adores Putin and his power. I mean, Putin has his oligarchs and Trump has his billionaires. So, with the focus on anti-wokeism, I mean, that's exactly what's happening in Russia and other countries too, like Hungary. So just clamping down on dissent and just trying to shape the political environment to purely for the centralization of power and the enrichment and self-enrichment and the enrichment of people who keep you in power.
And you mentioned Hungary, and stick a pin in them because I
Oh yeah.
think that's kind of an important nexus that connects the Russian far right to the American far right.
Hmm.
Hungary is sort of their meeting ground, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so you think of Hungary and their strongman ruler Viktor
Hmm.
Orban, and Hungary is a member of the European Union, but they consistently complain about the European Union. They complain about Brussels the same way conservatives in America complain about Washington and like the runaway federal government, right? And they just
Yeah.
complain about larger institutions. They folks like Putin and Orban and Trump and these oligarchs and billionaires, I think, benefit from breaking apart these bigger structures and making like borders, whether artificial or actual borders,
Hmm.
around places, um, digital spaces, what have
Definitely.
you, wherever you can make a checkpoint or a toll booth that benefits oligarchs and strongmen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're kind of seeing it in cyberspace with algorithms too. I mean, you, speaking of like the reflexive control, I think algorithms play a strong role in that. I mean, my Facebook is uh, seems to like after Trump was elected, it really switched towards a lot of right-wing stuff that I never engaged with, but I was just pushed a bunch of stuff. So it was mostly AI slop,
Oh,
but
same.
yeah,
And you can
yeah,
tell them you don't want this. You
yeah,
can click I'm not interested, and they'll keep
hmm,
showing you this sort of
yeah,
thing anyway. And
yeah,
and I can only imagine, folks that maybe aren't paying as much attention as we are. They see those things, especially young men are a target
hmm,
of a lot of this stuff.
oh yeah.
And that's it's cyber warfare. It really is, isn't it?
Well, cyber warfare I think has a very specific definition, but I think it could be considered a form of it. But I mean, I see it as disinformation operations that on steroids. So they're able to really target in, like with the Cambridge Analytica stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
they're able to collect information on people and people living in small communities and read the local media, like look what they're searching for, and exploit grievances that they have, and also create grievances. So they create imaginary boogeymen, and they swoop in. They have their right wing influencers talk about it and save the day and make people feel validated. So I think for a lot of people it's empowering, but it's not for their enrichment. It's for the enrichment of Vladimir Putin or MAGA, like billionaires and pro MAGA executives.
Well, yeah, and those folks. It's a big club, right? And we ain't in it. It's kind of
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
cartel. You've got the Russians, obviously, which we talked about, but you've also got like your Gulf petro states, who are very much deeply tied to Trump. And
hmm,
and and the energy industry in our country going back to the 70s, the Powell memo, the
Mm,
Heritage Foundation, Reagan's campaign was largely propped up by, Texas oil billionaires,
yeah.
right? And Russia's biggest exports oil, the Saudis, the Emiratis, oil, Venezuela now, oil. It's energy. It is fuel now for their AI machines too, right?
um, well, I think with the AI, I've heard that data centers, the companies constructing data centers want to use, I think, like molten salt reactors. So they will actually want to put in nuclear reactors in data centers. So I find that interesting. But the whole oil thing, I mean, people in foreign policy circles call Russia, China's gas station. So, but with the Gulf states too, I think Trump is strongly attracted to uh, dictators and leaders in the Gulf states. He loves the gold. He loves, the luxury. He loves, how powerful they are. And he's spent a lot of time there, and he speaks very highly of them, even though Saudi Arabia is a very repressive society, and other countries, Bahrain, Qatar, I mean, all have repressive governments too that have, I think, strong media control. I mean, state-owned media. So they're able to shape their own narratives too and crack down on any dissent.
And you know this what we're describing, and you mentioned China, and like where they fit in this is kind of unusual because you mentioned that Russia is like China's gas station, you say, but they're also leading on renewable energy.
Yes, yes.
And like where do they butt up against this the international oil
Hmm.
cartel that it seems like the United States and the Gulf states and Russia are sort of forming into.
Well, I think it's I'm thinking that I'm coming to believe that sanctions aren't being as effective and they need to be more targeted against you know lead repressive leaders in these countries, particularly Russia, with the oligarchs and everything, the leaders of the executives of all these gas companies. I mean, they don't know where their yachts are, and nothing really has changed economically in Russia in 20 years. So people are living in squalor. So, but I see the relationship between China and Russia, sure, not necessarily ideological, but China having an immense need for oil just to keep pace with its long-term plans. So China has a long-term plan. I think Xi called it the national rejuvenation, where they want to become a global superpower by 2049, and they want to have military capabilities basically around next year. They want to have the military readiness to invade Taiwan. So, and they're actively working on that. And they've been conducting military exercises. They've been dramatically increasing the size of their Navy. Their air defense systems are prevalent. They have a lot of radar systems pointing in the Indo-Pacific. They have missiles like the Guam killer that can reach Guam and attack our bases throughout the Indo-Pacific. And they have standoff weapons too that can uh, potentially take out a carrier strike group. There was a military exercise or a war game that the Center for New American Security did with, I think, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, where the red team, the People's Liberation Army team, launched a nuke high above the Pacific to create what's called a high altitude magnetic pulse that basically took out all computer systems in the Pacific. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but but Russia is really building its capabilities, and they need a lot of oil to do that. They need, for their ships, for the aircraft. They have a lot of need for the military and also to fuel their economic growth. But they are becoming the world leader in electronic vehicles and renewable energy. And while Trump is focused on oil, I think the world is moving on, and they're
Yeah.
seeing the benefits of renewables. They're seeing, the return on investment, and Trump doesn't even believe in climate change.
No.
So, I
Well,
mean,
they believe in it enough to know that Greenland and the glaciers there are melting, and there's going to
yeah,
be access to rare earth minerals and Arctic shipping lanes. I mean, I think these guys
that's true.
know
Yeah.
goddamn well, especially with the oil industry folks. They knew that climate change was coming decades
Oh
ago.
yeah. Yeah.
Going back to at least the 1950s, they knew that this was going to happen. They kept it under wraps. They hid it from us the same way the
Hmm.
tobacco companies kept the fact that tobacco caused cancer
Yeah. Yeah.
under wraps. I mean, frankly, if the insurance companies that are getting hosed by climate change and all the claims that are going to come in from areas affected by that, they could they and should sue the oil companies out of existence. But I guess that's a whole other episode. But
Yeah.
I, I mentioned Greenland,
Yeah.
and we see, it varies from day to day where we are on this thing. I guess yesterday Trump backed
Uh,
down, sort of, as it were.
yeah.
But again, this fickle old demented man could change his mind, any minute.
Yeah.
But this entire thing threatens the global, international rules based order that has been in place since the end of World War II. And listen, um, it has its faults. We always didn't necessarily play by all the rules that we wrote,
Yeah.
but generally, hey, we haven't had another world war in the last 80 years, so that's great. But NATO falling apart, this global peace thing that Trump's putting together is potentially a threat to the UN. I mean, how significant is it that these institutions are under threat?
I wouldn't say they're under threat. I think that just the retreat of the United States from multilateral institutions, like, say, the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, I mean, that helps inform cyber norms, like governing the use of um, offensive cyber operations, cyber attacks. So making sure that, say, critical infrastructure isn't targeted, like hospitals aren't targeted. So it seems like there's a retreat in, at least what I've seen, in UN forums related to cybersecurity and related to climate change, and I think some on immigration and refugees. So, but I think I think the world is going to move on, and there's going to be other countries that fill the void, especially China. China is very invested in um, components of the UN, especially the International Telecommunications Union, to further Huawei, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and making sure that Chinese technology, like cellular technology, computer networking technology, um, AI technology, is proliferated across the globe. So, and they can use those as instruments of surveillance. And China really is focused on capturing foreign technology. So for its own purposes. I mean, they a lot of military aircraft, a lot of technology that the United States developed, research and development, is now in China. I mean, the F-22 looks a lot like the J-20, so
Mm.
um, fighter. But this I think the world is going to move on, and I think that China is going to fill the void, and China is going to be more influential in setting the rules setting the rules of the of the global security environment. So I think that Trump is very focused on his Don Road doctrine, becoming more regional power, like focused on the Western Hemisphere, and it's a it's basically just taking a step out of the role as the global superpower. So he wants to focus on rare earth materials and resources. And I think the long-term strategy is to use those to bring back manufacturing in the United States. But it's a complete undoing of the global economic order too. So, and I think it's scaring Europe. I think it's scaring a lot of our allies and partners. And because of their behavior and their statements that they made, they're already starting to see the writing on the wall that we're no longer dependable. Things could change in an instant. Trump tonight could wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and sit on his toilet and go on Truth Social and crash a market. Like he did with Greenland a few days ago. The Dow was down 900. So I think the world is moving on from us, and Canada is looking to China. So that's very troubling. So so much for Trump's Don Road doctrine. I mean, we may see increased Chinese presence and increased Chinese investment with the retreat of the United States from global institutions.
And well, that's what happens when you prove to be an unreliable partner, right? Now, I mean, I would guess, for the global South, for places that have had resources that American corporations could exploit, the global based, or the global rules based order, was problematic. I mean, look, I'm a leftist. I have criticisms of empire. So I think a lot of us on the left are like, well, yeah, the American empire shouldn't be a thing. Yeah, we should have global democracy. But I think what we're describing is somehow even worse than our empire. We're talking about these spheres of influence. It's like a new colonialism, like cyber colonialism or something.
No, I mean, I think that the rules-based international order was in decline. It has been in decline for decades. It's vulnerable. Trump is stepping on the gas pedal to make sure that it meets its demise during his presidency, and he wants himself to be. He wants the world order to be shaped around him. I mean, with this board of peace, whatever it's called. I heard that like Netanyahu and Putin and basically leaders of every country that has had a conflict over the past couple years, it has been invited to this, and it's focused around rebuilding Gaza. They're not rebuilding it; they're going to colonize it. They're going to put a bunch of Trump casinos and make it about Trump, and he's going to have his name on multiple buildings, and he's going to be able to go there, and millionaires and billionaires are going to go there and spend money. And that's what it's all about. It's about enriching himself. So, but I do see other countries like building their own spheres of influence. China and in the Indo-Pacific. I think that there's Besant said at Davos that his main concern is Taiwan because of the presence of TSMC and semiconductor production. But with this emphasis on bullying countries with rare earth materials, I think they're going to try to move that semiconductor production to the United States, but that's going to take decades. That's not going to happen during the Trump presidency. That's going to happen long after he's gone and we get that big beautiful obituary. So I think they're trying to think long term, but it doesn't quite make sense to me. So with Taiwan also has a very strategic geographic position in that it's located in an area that basically is the key to the rest of the Pacific. So shipping lanes could be impacted. There's, they want to increase the size of our Navy. They actually want to increase the defense budget by $500 billion, which is nuts.
That's like 50%. That's huge.
Yeah. So they
on top of already huge. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that we're looking at a more militarized foreign policy, and while simultaneously retreating from the global international order and also human rights too. The Biden administration focused on, they had a narrative of democracies versus autocracies. I don't think this new global security environment is going to respect human rights at all. I think it's going to be purely about interest. And Trump has already been cozy to Putin, very cozy to Putin, and also becoming more cozy to Xi. So I just don't think that matters anymore. Like with the Uyghurs in China, they've been putting them in concentration camps. There's talk of genocide that's been happening for years. I mean, they put them in concentration camps, re-education camps, and that's been a main cause of concern. That was a main cause of concern for like the Obama administration and for the Biden administration in criticizing China. But I don't think that's not happened during the Trump administration. I think that it's going to be
No, he's
human rights
doing
agnostic.
our own.
Yeah, and he sees. European countries are strongly believe in human rights. I think he just sees it as woke bullshit. I mean, he's all about just like furthering his own interests, self-aggrandizement. So yeah, I mean, the rules-based international order is not going to be values-based or morals-based. It's going to be based on spheres of influence and what you can get out of your sphere. So in terms of resources, in terms of capital, and it's a recroachment. So I see China fully exploiting this, and they have long-term plans, and I'm sure that those are going to be accelerated because the United States is in retreat.
What we're describing basically with Russia and China and a more authoritarian America. If you look at the Gulf states, Erdogan in Turkey, Modi in India, even Netanyahu has these tendencies in Israel. Bolsonaro in Brazil, they did something about him, but that strain of autocratic impulse still exists there. Lula's an old guy; he's not going to be around forever. It's a scary time, and we talked about Hungary and Orban. And that sort of being the nexus between the American far right and these other ethno-nationalist movements, and the CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference. They've had multiple of these now in Hungary, and our Secretary of State here in Indiana, Diego Morales, went to one of these to speak. His wife is Hungarian. Now, don't sue me. I'm not saying anything. I'm not making any accusations, but there are connections there. But even if there aren't actual Hungarian intelligence telling Indiana what to do, we're emulating them here in our own way. The gerrymandering. I think we invented gerrymandering in the United States, but Orban's Hungary has taken the ball and sort of run with it and perfected it. And now we here in Indiana, in other states, are being more shameless with it. Now, thankfully, last month in December, our state legislators defeated this gerrymandering gambit. But I mean, still, there are a lot of what author David Pepper describes as a laboratory of autocracy, and Indiana is one of these. Red states are sort of proving grounds for moving the ball in an autocratic way. And the states and then the larger far right movement sort of learns what they can get away with.
Yeah, I mean, it, I mean, I grew up here, I went to college here, and, my whole family's here, basically. So I keep tabs on things. I talk to friends, um, try to keep tabs on things, but um, it's just, I see Indiana as a purple state that is being held hostage by the Indiana GOP because they write the rules. They set the chessboard. So in southern Indiana, when I ran, I ran purely on three things. So harm reduction, making sure that communities are safe during the opioid crisis, stopping schools from closing, and also helping communities attract talent. I mean, in Bedford, where I'm from, um, there's not a whole lot of opportunity, and people my age are working fast food and retail. They never really thought about pursuing higher education. They're just trying to get by and pay the bills. And there's no real professional advancement. There's no real career opportunities. It's just people trying to get by with, working for Walmart and Lowe's and Steak and Shake. So when they have kids, they're only focused on their lives. They're not focused on politics. They're just trying to deal with how the reality of their lives. So but for some reason they can the Indiana GOP can in their gerrymandered districts can jangle the keys of trans people,
Mm-hmm.
gay people, whatever boogeyman, critical race theory, um, whatever, and like energize people to vote against their own interests. So I think people think the right wing media environment that we talked about earlier, has strong linkages to Russia and other countries. Um, that's shaping the political media environment in Indiana. So, I was called baby killer when I ran.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had a, I talked to someone at a bar in Bedford about assault weapons, and they try to get me, like, what is an assault weapon? I'm like, well, it's a firearm with select fire, and that's right. So, but it devolved into argument with some guy wearing an NRA T-shirt, and he tried to attack me, and luckily someone held him back against the wall while I was sitting at the bar talking to like 3 to 5 people about assault weapons and why I think that they should be more regulated.
Yeah,
So I mean,
you
people are
and like
asking
80
me.
to 90% of the population, including
Yeah,
NRA members, except for like
yeah,
that guy. It's always like you find the loudest, most aggressive person and you push their buttons. It's like we talked about before, where the existing cleavages in our society are pressed to get people
yes,
emotional and
hmm
riled up. You said they jangle their keys, right? And that's a metaphor I like to use as well. They jingle the culture war keys while they're
yeah,
picking your pocket, right? While they're
exactly.
extracting all the value out of our communities. Um, all of the blue collar jobs have been automated away.
hmm
Now AI is coming in and automating away a lot of the white collar jobs potentially.
Oh yeah, oh
Um,
yeah.
then what's left? It's service industry stuff. Now we could reconstruct our society and value those things, especially what blue collar, white collar, what I call pink collar jobs, which are typically or traditionally have been women's jobs, caring for people. Well, we could as a society place our emphasis on those things and caring for each other and making that what is valuable, um, instead of the extractive things
Yeah.
that we do now. Um, so, but like you said about Trump and his feelings about Europe, there's this sort of toxic masculine way of looking at the world. like, well, caring for each other, that's gay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And international like treaties, like legally passed into law treaties, agreements, alliances, and partnerships that have been long standing. I mean, European countries, after we invoked Article 5 of the NATO Charter after 9/11, they were with us for 20 years in Afghanistan. And Trump yesterday said that they've done nothing. We've gotten nothing out of NATO. So I've seen all these vets on social media saying, you know, I mean, I was there, so I didn't do nothing. So I was deployed there. British soldiers, French soldiers, German soldiers, Norwegian soldiers. I'm seeing lots of posts on social media of like, we were there for you when you needed us. So why are you saying these things? I don't think he sees any value in that. I mean, he called soldiers, he called service members losers and suckers.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't think he has any sense of appreciation and honor when it comes to people serving in the military, and the sacrifices that European countries paid in blood and treasure in supporting us in the global war on terror. So, and you would think Todd Young would speak up, but no.
Todd Young, man,
Yeah.
that guy, such a spineless weasel. Like, he'll feign concern, he'll act like he cares about these things, but when it really comes down to it, in the end, he always goes along with Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never stands up. He's an appeaser, and there. There's a bipartisan strain of appeasement, I think, in Indiana,
Oh yeah.
when confronted with this MAGA authoritarian sort of strongman movement. It's what I think of as like living in an abusive home, right? You
Yeah.
think, oh, if I make myself
Yeah.
small, if I go along to get along, they won't pick on me. They're not going to
Hmm.
beat me up this time. But like, you still are in an abusive situation if you do that. If you don't stand up for all of the talk about strength and um, violence and standing up and standing on your own, and a rejection of the working together.
Yeah.
I find that there's a whole lot of caving, and it's us folks who are you would think of. We carry ourselves as internationalists, as people who want to build um, multilateral structures, who want to cooperate, who want
Hmm.
to build human-centered things, and it's up to us to, in the end, stand up and be strong and punch the bully back.
Well, punching the bully back, in my experience with the Democratic Party, like the go along to get along is exactly what I saw. Don't rock the boat. Don't put out bold positions. Don't make bold statements. Don't stand for much of anything. Don't don't piss off Republicans, because you'll mobilize them and they'll vote against you. So when I ran, I talked about um, giving safe supplies to people who use heroin, so that people could be safe from HIV and hepatitis C. I mean, there were over a dozen um, public health emergencies in Indiana because of hepatitis C, hepatitis A, and even HIV. So and harm reduction is literally the most conservative, economically conservative part of the solution. Costs nearly nothing. Someone with hepatitis C costs it costs $80,000 to cure them, and it costs $1 million to treat someone with HIV. And I was trying to make these arguments in terms of economic sense, so that there would be more support among Republicans. who are in power. I mean, 80% of county commissioners in Indiana, I think, are Republican. But with Democrats, there was a lot of pushback on me supporting harm reduction when I saw it as one of the most progressive things I could advocate for. So, like, helping people that are extremely vulnerable who are not in a position to help themselves. I mean, they can't pay for their treatments. So many of them are unemployed. Many of them are in and out of jail. Many of them have mental illnesses. They can't keep a full-time job. They don't have health insurance. So how do we help these people? And the solution in Lawrence County with the county commissioners was let the hospitals handle it. Well, the hospitals haven't handled it. It's the prison system. It's the criminal justice system that's handled it. And they're forcing people in treatment. They're drug courts, I have a very mixed opinion on, but in my experience, people go through the motions. They get into debt because they're paying for probation fees. They're going to payday loan centers to pay for the court fees, and they're going back out because the stress of it's too much. They're not getting enough support. So, like, I was advocating for this, but at the same time, the Democratic Party was telling me, this is too sensitive of an issue. Don't rock the boat, don't piss people off. And finally, with the Indiana House Democratic Caucus, I said, unless you have money or people I can talk to, stop calling me. And after the primary, I looked at running as an independent. I saw no benefit running as a Democrat in my district. If anything, it worked against me because of the D next to my name. So, I introduced myself. People are like, what party are you with? I would say the Democrats, and they were like, oh, no, I'm not interested in even talking to you. So, I would go everywhere. And but the Democratic Party seemed to work against me. And at the county party level, it just seemed to be like five boomers that meet up a few times a year. They go to the convention as delegates. They try to get people to run. They no one ever does. They don't raise any money. They're not organized. They can't even run a meeting that's functional. So no one shows up. They're not engaged with the community, and they don't really know what's going on and what the community issues are that people are passionate about. So I just see the Democratic Party in Indiana. I mean, it was a very disappointing experience for me running. I know people in the state that they were on staffing campaigns, and they were racking up credit card debt while working as paid staffers just to pay their rent. So, and they said, like, I had to stop getting involved because I was racking up too much debt. So, and people just are tuning out the Democratic Party because they don't see them as effective. They see them as appeasers, going along to get along and not working in their interest. Not working, period. They don't see any presence of Democrats in their communities because it's a very small, tight-knit group. When people show up that are passionate, they chew them up and spit them out. So
Yeah.
I know of younger party chairs that quit after a few weeks because they were tired of being told what to do and how to run things and not rock the boat. Like, don't ask people for money. I mean, that's the job of a party chair, is to fundraise. So, don't say these things. Don't go to this community event. Let's not run this person against the county sheriff because we like the county sheriff. He's a nice guy. He's a Republican. He's been there for 10 years. But let's leave him alone. Let's not give the people an alternative. So, I'm just seeing the party in complete disrepair. And I went to a Lawrence County Democratic Party meeting a few months ago. People showed up and said that they wanted to run for something. And they were looking at me because they knew that I ran. And then they saw how the meeting was turning into chaos. So I asked them, hey, let's go to this bar nearby and actually have a real meeting. And three of them said that they might run as independents because they saw no benefit to running as a Democrat. I mean, what are they going to do? Like, is the state party going to give them training and access to NGP van? And that was my experience. That's all I got. So I think reforming the county parties demanding accountability and demanding performance and demanding leadership and vision and organization is key. And that's just not what I see across a lot of county parties in Indiana.
So, I mean, what's the solution here? I mean, obviously, my frustration with the Democratic Party is well stated, and yet, just the way our system is, unless voting rules are changed at the national level and we get some sort of national ranked choice or something,
Yeah.
it's this two-party system is just the nature of having winner take all elections, first past the post, single member districts. So the infrastructure of the Democratic Party would be very useful to capture, to have that institutional power that
Yeah.
goes along with it. So I generally tell people, yeah, you want to work within the party for those reasons, but there needs to be some sort of a rebrand, right?
Yeah. And I think Bo Bai, he's raising a lot of money. He's raised like what, like 1.5 million to $2 million.
Yeah, it's closer to
Yeah.
two at this point, I think, and
Yeah.
some of it comes from
hmm
unsavory places.
But I've heard rumors, maybe not very reputable, but he's going to, and I've seen this with other candidates too that have money. They don't really rely upon the Democratic Party infrastructure. They build their entire infrastructure for their campaign, and when their campaign's done, they close shop. So all that institutional knowledge, all those assets, all those people, all that experience just is tossed aside. So people get burned out. They have grievances based upon their work. I mean, I know several staffers from 2018, 2020 that just aren't interested in working with the party anymore. I mean, there's no sense of retainment and no sense of like, hey, we need to learn from this. And it just it's the same people that have been there for decades, just spinning the hamster wheel with the same strategy. You know, just see what sticks. Throw spaghetti against the wall, see what sticks, and hope for the best. There's no real strategy. There's no real planning. There's no resources either. I mean, when I got involved with the party, I was shocked at the lack of support I received whenever I was asked to run. I was asked to run, so because I was showing up to events and informing candidates on harm reduction, help them, deal with challenges in their own districts. So, but once I ran, I got I got invites to trainings in Indianapolis and access to NGP van, and that was about it. So, but in terms of solutions, I think that people need to show up to meetings. They take over their county parties. I think listeners here should get 5 of their friends, go to a county party meeting, and while they're voting for officers, and vote each other in for chair and vice chair, and you just take it over. So I went to a county party meeting in Lawrence County. They appointed me as a vice chair, and I just showed up to a meeting. They're like, "We like you," so yeah. So I didn't last very long because I was more focused on my campaign, and honestly I didn't want to deal with some of the people. But but I mean, I think people need to like have hostile takeovers of their local county party and start showing leadership and vision, getting people engaged, getting passionate people involved, giving them a role, and raising money, showing up, like not just to party meetings. Go to a football game, go to a basketball game, go, you know, just be a regular person, but be engaged in your community, speak with your friends and family, and grow the party, not just let it stagnate and decay into nothingness. So, and that's my experience across a lot of Indiana. Just, people are very insular and they see going to meetings as being a good Democrat. So,
Yeah. It's not enough. We got to do something. We've been doing the same thing for 20 years with the same losing results every time. Occasionally you'll break through at the state level, like 2012 Joe Donnelly, who didn't win so much as Richard Murdoch was such a heinous ghoul that even his own voters didn't come out for him. And we think that's the winning strategy. Look, it won that one time, and we've been doing the same thing ever since. If we don't change, if we keep going along to get along, we are going to wind up like Hungary or like Russia.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, they're wanting there's a bill, I think, at the State House that might put state legislators on firing squads. I mean, what the hell is that? I mean, what problem does that solve? So, I mean, they're attacking trans people. They're jangling the keys. You know, they're just pushing the buttons on people, making them afraid, making them scared of imaginary threats, and while consolidating power. And Democrats are really doing nothing. I'm not sure what Karen's doing. I've heard rumors that she wants to buy a $2 million building for the party headquarters. And I'm not sure how much fundraising has been going on. I mean, I'm not sure about the solvency of the party.
Even if we're raising funds, is that the best thing to spend it on? I mean, our grassroots need support. Not the top of the ticket doesn't need support. If these people are really concerned about the state of democracy in Indiana, take some of that money and funnel it out instead of sitting on it. You know, Jared, you got me riled up. I could go on all day. You are such a knowledgeable guy. Like, I could pick your brain all night long, but unfortunately, we are coming up on the end here. Yeah, I know, right? Well, listen, I'll have you back sometime. We can dig in deeper into all this stuff. But for right now, where can the good folks find you online? If you even want them to find you online.
Probably just LinkedIn, to be honest. I do have a Facebook, but after my run, I try to keep it kind of close to just friends and family. If people want to
healthier that way.
Yeah. If you want to reach me, start with LinkedIn, and then I'll add you on Facebook, and I'll talk your ear off to basically any progressive in Indiana, and we can start planning stuff. I want to get stuff going. You know, the midterms really scare me. You know, Trump has a very low approval rating right now, but I mean, it's a long time between now and the midterms, and I'm really concerned about voter rights, voter safety, and honestly, trying the Trump administration interfering in elections in Indiana, so and across the United States too. So, but we need people that are in these county parties and leadership positions that will hold their election officials accountable. So and the Republicans will not. I mean, if it benefits them, they're not going to worry about it. So if they go in and look at, interfere in voting machines, maybe shave a few ballots out of the ballot box, I don't think that they're going to be concerned with that. So.
I mean, you know how you've seen how these authoritarian countries do it. It's possible. The playbook is out there, and it would not surprise me if these folks would use it. But the only way to defeat that is to out-organize it, to overwhelm that system. So there, people, is your call to action. Unfortunately, we've got to leave it there tonight. Okay. So, for now, Jared, it has been a pleasure to talk to you. A wealth of knowledge. Like I said, I'd love to pick your brain all night long. But for right now, folks, be sure to come back Sunday morning for Who's Left This Week. We stream that live on YouTube, Facebook, and of course, right from the teat at progressiveindiana.net. It is Indiana's most thorough weekend news and politics show, and it's a lot of fun if you can call following the news in this timeline fun. I got a new panel every week. We talk about Indiana news, and we look at U.S. and international happenings through a Hoosier lens. I hope to see you there in the comments. One last reminder to please consider supporting Who's Left and the wider Progressive Indiana Network with a paid subscription if you're able. This project does rely solely on the generosity of kind patrons like you to make this information available for free to everybody. Again, that is at progressiveindiana.net. Could also use a follow on social media at Progressive Indiana Network on all of them except for TikTok and Blue Sky, where it's PIN Indiana. You can find me at Who's Left on most of your social media sites. Email me at scott@whosleft.us with feedback, tips, ideas, or concerns. And finally, again, share this with your friends and have them pass it on too. Let's keep building this project and a truly democratic state, one conversation at a time. On behalf of my guest, Jared Stancombe, I'm Scott Aaron Rogers. Love each other, Indiana.